cooking in the pot here for EDG.
Yeah, what do you want to take off of the board? It's going to be the Inara that they think that they don't want to deal with, so that leaves a bunch of very strong junglers still available to IG to first pick, but actually no, just going to go towards that Azir first pick, not something we've been seeing recently. Now, the Pantheon, the Xin Zhao if you want it, either of those can just be picked up right at the very start if you want them.
EDG, what is your response here? We've seen a lot of Azir first picks. Wait a minute. Hang on, Bloxxer. This is an Azir first pick by IG. I just did a double take. They have stayed away from the Azir the entirety of Split 3.
And they're not first picking it.
And now they're first picking it. What has changed? Have IG been cooking the Azir in scrims again? Do they now feel confident that Rookie can pilot this champion again? Because there was a reason why IG were staying away from it for the majority of regular season. In fact,
played
it wasn't
once.
pick a space. Yeah.
The Rookie played it a single time during Split 3. They did win on it, but once. Which, considering the Azir priority that we saw across the entire rest of the tournament, really odd. And now extra odd to see them pull this one out right here. But the Azir, it just fits into so many different compositions. Picking it this early as well though, right? You do know that there are counters to it. If you have an opponent that feels comfortable picking up the Ziggs, that can always be something a little bit miserable to try to play into. Instead, it's just going to be the Taliyah matchup, pretty standard there. IG currently showing a little bit of aggression right here. Going to pick themselves up the Kai'Sa early on as well. Usually like to pair that with something else very aggressive in the support and in the jungle. Something you can go dive into the backline alongside. The Meiko, something that we've been seeing more and more, and it's something that's so good on Parukia that I love Meiko taking this away. It's good for him, and it takes away the best champion from EDG support.
Yeah, IG already have a solid 1-2 combo with the dive setup, but they haven't shown their jungle and top lane just yet. And things that can really enable this Kai'Sa to feel like she's not going to be the only person diving into the backline. There's a plethora of options here. Now, Wukong and Jarvan were already eliminated from the pool, but Xin Zhao is still available, Vi is still available, EDG go for the Corki guarantee lock-in for On here. Trundle has already been secured for Xiaohao, so a lot of the skirmishers are not going to feel as great trying to tango with Trundle in the one-on-one, but we have seen many junglers been able to just not necessarily path around it, but just play around it. You don't interact with the Trundle specifically. You just try and make sure that you are enabling the rest of your team to succeed.
Exactly. If you try to actually go tussle straight up with that Trundle, it's just going to rip your heads off. But it also is going to be very interesting when it comes to the push as well. The Trundle can just smash straight through those towers very quickly, and it can just unlock you to get a ton more turret plates early on. You get yourself a kill in the lane, then you take a couple of plates down. It can just expand that gold lead out a little bit more. And it also is going to make IG think about what top laner you want to take. If you wanted something big and tanky for TheShy, well then that makes the Trundle even better going on. So it might push TheShy more towards his slightly more aggressive pickups, which is something we've been seeing, I'd say, a little bit less this split. He has certainly had extra aggressive pickups he's played. He even played himself the Aurora game a little while ago, which was pretty fun to watch. So he's not opposed to it, but it does maybe push him more in that direction.
EDG now eliminate both jungle options that would have been nice as early game skirmishers, as well as enablers of this Kai'Sa and overall diving identity from IG, with the Pantheon and the Vi band off the table. IG take away Palkia's Alistar, as that would have been just a solid engaged support option, because right now EDG are lacking a lot of it. Nautilus is going to be the other one that I would have suggested. Trundle and Taliyah, not necessarily the most fabled and fear-striking combo in jungle mid, because there's no direct way that you set up that seismic shove guaranteed, unless the pillar slow can...
Pillar's so good, yeah.
A pillar slow is going to be really nice, but it's not a guarantee on the seismic shove connecting. Now, Rel will give you that go button that EDG desperately need, leaving ZDZ to have counterpick option in the top lane. This Sylas could be jungle here, Bloxxer.
Yeah, we have seen the Sylas move around a little bit more. There's a bunch more champions that we've ended up with in the jungle. Instead, we're going to go on towards this Neferi, something that's seriously fallen off in terms of priority. And we got to see it in the previous series between BLG and JDG, where it just didn't look good, right? The Nefiri wasn't able to get ahead, wasn't really able to just get rolling, and it is going to be that Aurora pickup up into the top lane. We said it was possible. It was something that we have seen TheShy pick up before, but he hasn't been super all over it, right? It's not been something he's been spamming constantly, and doing it blind especially is really wild.
To me, this is TheShy saying, you've got nothing for this Aurora top lane pick. I'm going to be able to beat whatever you got into it. Because we know that TheShy kind of originated this Aurora top lane as an answer into the Rumble. And that started making waves globally in all the other regions. So now the fact that TheShy feels comfortable enough to just take it into what is now a York answer from EDG, IG have no real tanks here, Bloxxer. There is no real front line. IG are just trusting in their ability to... does this look like a hands check composition to you, Bloxxer?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, IG, 2 picks in, saw that trundle and went, hell no. That subjugate is not going to be useful versus us. Absolutely not. We are not giving you a single tank to be able to pull away from. Instead, we're just going to go all in and make it really tricky to play out these games. And I do like this composition into what EDG have, because when you're sat on the Talia and the Corki, you'd love a more standard front-to-back situation so that you can land a ton of those rockets and a ton of those rocks. Instead, in this situation where the backline's going to be in your backline all of a sudden, you're not able to play these out anywhere near as effectively. It's going to make it a heck of a lot harder for EDG to make this work, and because they don't have themselves a true engaged tank right here, right, they've got a couple of pieces that are kind of tanky, but nobody that can just sit in the front line, be a Scion, for example, and just absorb all of that pressure. I think it's going to be very tricky for EDG to be able to play this one out. The Yorick specifically is what's giving me a lot of pause. It's not good into the Aurora. The Aurora is still going to have its number during the early laning phase. And then, are you going to be able to go and split push effectively? Or are you going to be pulled into these team fights where you're not going to be able to do anywhere near as much as an Aurora probably can?
Yeah, I almost feel like the York is not necessarily set up for success in a side lane, at least without jungle interference from Xiaohao. But I feel like they are just trying to find a way to get value in these team fights. Dark Procession might be able to find some things on some of these champions that burn their mobility tools early, but we're going to have to see how the story unfolds here in our second best of 5 in the playoff bracket. Let's hit the ring for IG and EDG. Game 1 is Rookie already forced to flash here in Game 1.
That was good. Those were some very, very loud gyros. I mean, we've had a couple of, you know, quieter ones throughout the rest of this split, but that was lovely to hear. And already the flash coming off of Rookie, that's pretty big, right? The seismic shove is super annoying to try to dodge away from, and the fact that Angel's now going to have that little bit of advantage early, I'll be really interested to see what EDG do with that. Do they decide to re-gank early on? I would very much like to see it, right? Don't just wait the 5 minutes out, allow Rookie to get that flashback and not punish him, because Rookie is a punishable member early on. This has been one of the main weaknesses we've seen from IG.
The picture-in-picture Bloxxer, it all comes from Parukia. Yeah, was set up early crash down.
Oh,
and now he just flashes in late. I mean, we know that this is not a strange thing from Parukia ever since we first saw his breakout debut game in Split 3. Just flashing level 1, getting aggressive just for lane priority. It results in Meiko losing 50% of his HP.
Yeah, but Parukia also does lose a good chunk off of his health bar as well. You do always have to be a little bit cautious, right? The Nico Kai'Sa has more than enough damage if one of these Strangled Thorns lands to just turn around, burst you on down. So, gotta play with a little bit of respect right here. And you can see that lane priority is still gonna go over to IG.
Xiaohao's invading early too. I mean, this is... For anyone...
You've got him.
If this is your first time watching EDG... This is an EDG classic right now. Especially, they're playing all their greatest hits from the early series in Split 3. Xiaohao goes for an early invade, especially on the Trundle. Parukia is blowing his flash and ignite level 1 just to assert lane dominance and make things very volatile. Wei is going to find that both his Gromp and his blue buff are now suddenly missing. He's going to be a sad puppy. And Xiaohao, we'll see how much of an advantage he can actually find with this. Xiaohao actually burned his flash as well. I'm curious if he did it just to get over a certain ward on the topside river. Yep. Boom. He burns flash just over the Baron pit.
I love this.
You know what, Bloxxer? This is what I'll say. Because of the composition that IG drafted, I think this is the one time EDG could win a game.
Yeah.
But if IG win with this, it's just a 3-0 for the night. We're gonna put that in.
It is quite possible. And EDG, they know this. They know they have to get aggressive. Wei stepping up for the invade. He doesn't actually know the Parukia is sat in that bush right now.
Uh-oh. Crash down from Parukia, looks for the Q-stun onto Wei, and they find Meiko instead. First blood goes over to your rookie of the split. But the blue buff still secured by Wei in the end, and he's able to get away from the hands of EDG.
Yeah, you still get that prize. You're going to be able to pick up that Scuttle Crab as well. So overall, it's not going to be the end of the world because Parukia picks up that kill. I do love the way that he's able to get into that bush, though. And it's just Wei making what is usually the right decision, right? You don't want to get the wall down into that bush. You want to get it over the wall of the blue buff to give you that extra bit of vision. Make sure you know exactly where all of the EDG members are. But unfortunately for him, Parukia being able to sneak into that bush already and gets off a really nice little gank right there. The kill goes over to him, so not the end of the world. Still, it's that proactivity we wanted to see from EDG.
Listen! I didn't know what IG were gonna draft this game. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm just saying, based on what we saw from here, this is the one opportunity where
You're never going to
EDG
hear the
could,
end of this, man.
because IG are not necessarily drafting to the strengths of what they have done for majority of the Rumble stage.
You're never going to hear the end of this. Although, ZDZ going to get ganked.
I've accepted it. ZDZ now in trouble. Flashes away from the Darkened Dagger. Gets hit by the second one, but is not going to lose as nearly as much HP. And now Parukia here for the re-engage. Crash down, misses, but he lands the stun anyway on the way afterwards of the pillar. Unfortunately, not enough to put Wei in a lockdown state for EDG to capitalize on. And it's a pause. No.
Pause tech. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's, hope that this one's going to be nice and brief. The previous one that we saw in the previous series was very quick. So. Oh no.
Is it
the
TheShy setup?
Double best of 5 pauses in each series. This is esports, baby. This is exactly what you wanted. No, still, this is a decent pause situation because we've had a pretty interesting early game. I love the proactivity we're seeing out of EDG. I think it's unfortunate for them that it hasn't really resulted in massive advantages, right? In this play that we just saw up in the top lane, they kind of blow everything they have, all of the crash down, the pillar, everything onto the Neferi, who gets to just hop up into that eviscerate and walk on out, right? Neferi is a super mobile champion, but they just didn't quite have the range to get onto some of these less mobile, squishier champs. It's just unfortunate, right? If these plays had have worked out slightly more in EDG's favor, they could already be up by 3 kills pretty easily.
Against most other teams, and the reason why it worked so well against Group Nirvana teams is because when you look at the rosters that were on Group Nirvana, it's either a mixed bag of rookies or newer players coming in and trying to figure out their team identity and what they're necessarily strong at and still trying to play together as competitive 5s in a tier 1 setting. And EDG are just constantly throwing them for a loop, doing things like getting super aggressive level 1, invading jungle as a level 2 Trundle, and it just, those kind of oddballs or curveball scenarios really throw less experienced teams for a loop.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Against IG know how to rebound against that. They know how to not get sucked into the funnel of chaos and just wait for their turn.
Yeah, it's such a tricky situation where you want to see all of this aggression and all of this play, and it was fun to see during Group Nirvana. It kind of felt like in Group Nirvana, all you really needed to do to win games was play a standard, easy enough game of League of Legends, and a lot of the Group Nirvana teams just couldn't hang with that. They had far too many macro mistakes, far too many laning phase mistakes that you were able to just take over them, but it was fine in the end. EDG didn't just sit back though. They kept being aggressive. They kept trying to make these games as fun as possible, and they ended up winning big because of it. As you said, versus IG, it's going to be a little bit more of a tall order, but you can't let up the gas. The worst thing that EDG can do here is roll over and die and just allow the game to happen around them, because IG, in that situation, will win every single game in 25 minutes.
It seems like the tech pause has gone away for now. Hopefully, it's gonna come back. Fingers crossed. As we resume standard gameplay where both of the bot lanes have taken to the top side of the map, most likely in preparation for the grubs that we'll see in the next couple of minutes. Neither team has gone for the first dragon of the game, which is an Infernal one. Trundle does have an easier time of soloing out the dragon earlier on. Nefiri, not so much. She would like to prefer some time farming up. As we have seen in the previous series, Nefiri is not like the Nefiri of old in Split 2. You really want the first and second items online. Xiaohao making a move onto the TheShy bot lane, but he has access to his ultimate, so he should not be in any trouble whatsoever. He's positioning the ultimate to rejoin with Wei and connect. Now that the Nefiri is here, the counter gank potential is so massive, but Wei doesn't get any meaningful damage, gets chomped to bits by Xiaohao and is forced to flee the scene, and he's getting down by the minions here of Yorick, but not quite enough that he feels the need to flash early on here, maintains that summoner spell, but still, it looked pretty darn dicey here on the bot side.
Yeah, I mean, I think if ZDZ has himself a little bit more mana, is able to throw himself out another E, get some more of those ghouls going, that kill likely goes down, or at least the flash gets blown out of way. Instead, you do just manage to limp away. But again, it's EDG trying to be proactive. It doesn't quite work out for them, but they're still able to get themselves some decent damage down, draw a little bit of attention over as well. It was a situation in which it felt like Xiaohao really wanted to go towards that Drake, but didn't have mid lane or bot lane priority and had to fight for it somewhere. You are now going to see these bot lanes still staying up towards the top side of the map, so this Drake may still just live for a little bit longer.
EDG want to get a couple more levels under their belt here. Xiaohao really wants to prioritize hitting level 6. The Subjugate will be a powerful tool, even though we had stated that IG had avoided giving any meaningful tanks or front lines that can give a lot of good stats for Xiaohao to sap. Subjugate is still a powerful tool in just making one particular champion extra squishy and easier to assassinate. Now IG trying to see if they can catch out Xiaohao on the top side of the map.
Shouldn't be able to steal away these Krugs from him, but he is going to lose out onto this red buff. I don't know that you particularly want to face check this brush right now. No, I think Xiaohao is going to recognize that stepping into that bush likely not going to be a good idea, but that does give plenty of priority around these grubs over to IG.
On Parukia, we're going to have too difficult of a time trying to step up and contest the wave against Gala and Meiko. That is the bane of playing a melee support into a ranged one. And Wei is already burning through these grubs here. Xiaohao nowhere near, just going to now take the consolation prize in the first dragon of the game here.
To be fair, not going to be the end of the world because the Infernal Drake is pretty strong to get as an individual. Still, you are going to be the Trundle Yorick composition. You would have loved to have had all three of those grubs. Would have meant these towers would have melted in the face of EDG. IG picking this one up is just going to feel good for them, denying that one away, as well as what they can now do to these towers. Still, 1-for-1 trading. EDG, they're keeping themselves within touching distance throughout the first 10 minutes of this game, but as we keep saying, touching distance usually isn't enough to beat IG.
On just took a base. Parukia, the only one under this top tier 1 turret. But that is a pretty hard to kill champion in the rel by yourself, or at least even with 3 people here. Meiko is level 6 with the Pop Blossom, so Wei is thinking about springing the trap here. Meiko would have to lead and can always just go into the cannon minion form. Parukia goes straight onto Meiko, tries to force his hands with damage, but it is the flash burn, and Wei still gets out alive thanks to the call of the pack.
Oh, I love the idea right there from Parukia. Just try to get that trade kill back. Unfortunately, Nefiri is just one of the champions of all time, jumping up into that untargetability and survives through the final shot of the tower. The response from EDG looks like it's going to be a dive on towards the bottom side of the map, potentially, but, I mean, this isn't a particularly gigantic wave, and it's always tricky to try to dive onto an Aurora with that ulti up. Instead, that play just going to fizzle out, so it's a good play from IG, and they managed to get themselves a small advantage here, up by about 1,000 gold.
Like we said before, Bloxxer, if EDG, even if they were able to find a decent early game advantage, it is so hard to crack a team like IG, who have proven their mental resilience against some of the best teams that we've had in Group Ascend. IG now doing their best and showing that EDG are going to have to work a lot harder to try and crack this team open. TheShy just burned his ultimate Does ZDZ have an opportunity to at least burn a flash from the Aurora here? Quite a slippery champion, the Dark Procession. That just gets answered by a W. Nice champ, Riot. Thank you very much for the Bunny Witch.
Yep, just going to be able to hop and skip away from that one. I mean, the second that you end up losing that E, that's a ton of your damage just not really going to be going on down through for ZDZ. Still, it means that TheShy is kind of caught under this tower, picking up these waves, pretty low on mana as well. He's not going to be a massive threat to you, so not the end of the world here for EDG, but they are just going to have to keep this pressure up. They cannot afford to just let this game slip away from them right now. We've got still 3 minutes until the next Drake is going to be spawning. We've got a while until Herald is up. So just all about what you can get from these individual lanes. For right now, ZDZ is going to grab himself a couple of tower plates, so that is a decent gold injection into the EDG top laner.
Will help at least diminish the gold deficit that EDG are currently experiencing, but we're going to have to see some explosive plays. We need large swings of gold just to make it so that EDG have that massive advantage that they can start forcing IG to try and at least play to the tempo of their own macro game. Still in this state of heavy concern for the EDG boys.
It's never going to go away. Even up 10k, EDG, it's never going to go away. IG just always feel like they're looming. Yeah, and I mean, look at the items right now. That's first items completed onto the majority of the IG carries, whereas EDG, they've not been able to get a single first item completed, and that's just going to make these next couple of plays so rough. For EDG, you've got to scrape together your gold right now, hope that you can get back to base in time before these objectives come up, and have those first items completed, because if you don't, these first fights are just going to go wrong so easily.
TP used by Parukia thanks to his unsealed spellbook. Gets some priority onto the mid lane. They still have Dragon, not for another minute and 20 seconds here. Decent poke from EDG. Trying to force out Rookie here on the bottom side. Wall comes in. Meiko with the Pop Blossom finds one here.
He's dead.
He's the first one to fall, but Wei sends it with the ultimate.
Parukia.
Not enough damage on the Parukia, so Wei doesn't get the reset. He's forced to flash away. Xiaohao does not get the last bit of damage he needs to take down the dog. And it looks like Gala was forced to flash as well on the left side there. IG don't find any kills in the fight. EDG are able to find a decent advantage here. Angel trying to pursue Wei under the tower.
Yeah, they're on the hump right now. EDG do not want to let up. They know there's a couple of low health members. If this base gets stopped, I mean, this is going to be a risky situation.
Wei now in a world of trouble. Call of the pack. Is it back up from cooldown here? 200 HP, not in time. Angel secures feats of strength for EDG. Or I should say feats of warfare. My mistake there. But still gets a double kill on the back of it. And the only casualty is ZDZ's Yorick.
Not the end of the world. That's such a huge fight right there from EDG. And it all comes off the back of Meiko being way over aggressive. Jumps into the backline, thinks he's found that Pop Blossom angle, but okay.
Fog of War finds Meiko just getting a little too over aggressive, trying to poke his head in Fog of War. Parukia is able to set that up. Another kill for EDG.
Damn. EDG, they find their way into this game with a good couple of kills. Still, look at the gold right now, especially after this tower goes down. It's not like these kills have turned into any kind of gold advantage, but it does give me a little bit more faith going on forwards that, you know, they can find these fights. Still, it was a knife's edge right there, and all of the kills end up going down onto Angel. He's been the main man for EDG in a lot of situations. He's been absolutely huge for them. High kills, low deaths in almost every single situation. Here on the Talia, he's going to have to come up huge if EDG have any hope of winning this game.
This is a player that at the height of his career found himself in the World Finals on Suning Gaming against Damwon in 2020. Angel has seen a remarkable revitalization this split thanks to Parukia and the rest of this roster coming together for Split 3. And the dive that you see here, I mean, it's just EDG understanding their limits here. Rookie and Wei so low on health bars. ZDZ being the only casualty here is kind of a bummer for EDG, but in the end, still a way forward.
It's something. It's something. That's all they need to do. They need to keep the pressure up. They have to keep playing aggressive and finding their angles in. We saw that was also going to be that Drake going on over to IG. And now more damage here onto the towers. This has been a heavy tower-based game so far. This one might go down. TheShy, nope, just going to pop that ulti to be able to clear through the wave. Angel.
Angel will recognize that he was going to lose the 1v1, so just goes for the TP, ensures that he does not drop his deathless game to TheShy.
just immediately going to be able to get himself back away from that one. Still, you are losing out onto a TP there for really no big advantage. You don't even pick up that tower up in the top lane, and because you lose all of that pressure you had in the top side of the map, that's going to open up the play for IG, and they're going to be able to grab themselves this Rift Herald. And this is what we were talking about in the pre-game, right, Raafaa? This is how IG beat you. Every time you make a small mistake, you lose so much on the map for it.
That's why even with EDG getting all those kills and picking up Feet of Warfare, we just don't have the confidence to say it's enough. Now TheShy's getting collapsed here by Parukia.
Oh, nice!
Catching TheShy out of the flash. The seismic shove does find it. That's a pretty big kill, and it's a nice flashing one for EDG. But what can they get off of it here in the back half?
Prediction right there from Parukia. It's going to be the kill. It's going to be this top lane tower as well. And every single time IG makes something happen, EDG, they are playing with enough aggression, they're playing smart, and they are finding their ways into this game. They're now ahead in gold, right? The early game has not fallen away from EDG in a way maybe a lot of people would have been expecting. Still, we wanted to see them really far ahead, and that's not something they've quite been able to secure yet. IG, multiple members roaming down towards the bottom side of the map right now. There's no objective down here other than the tower, so it's just going to be about getting this pressure through and potentially looking for a dive, although I think that's going to be dissuaded.
We return to a neutral state here, Bloxxer, as Xiaohao and Parukia take their time to clear out the vision here on the bottom side of the map. Otacon is not for another 3 minutes. Same with the third dragon of the game. EDG just trying to keep constant control of this area, because if they're able to find continuous picks, it leads to being able to push that vision line further. Parukia with the Hex Flash. Not going to find anyone here from the side of IG. It's just constant poking and prodding and testing to see if EDG can catch IG slipping.
All they need to do is keep finding these little picks before they get themselves into these team fights, because once we get into these straight up 5v5 situations, that's where IG should be coming online, right? You've got yourself a couple of massive ultis between the Aurora, the Azir, and that Meiko. Big multi-man ultis that can come on through. Parukia, he might be a bit caught here. Does he have a way over the wall?
He's able to get the W-empowered auto onto Wei, interrupting the first ulti, but he still was surrounded by everyone else from IG, and Wei has another ulti for that reset. Just going to pressure Angel away from the safety of that bottom tier 1 turret, and that should set up a rookie to take it without any contest.
Hey Raafaa, what do you reckon EDG's favorite item is?
I don't know. It might be something that's yellow.
Possibly. It might also be something that's blue. There's a lot of Merc Treads, there's a lot of Trinity Forces happening right here. The builds that are very similar, but you can afford to go towards this, right? As we've been highlighting, IG, they've not got themselves a true tank, so you can just start ripping the heads off of these squishier members if you're ever caught out with them. It's just basing on a ward. It's unfortunate. Parukia doesn't check. He checks the second he gets jumped, which is a little bit too late, my friend. And there was no way for him to be able to jump back over the wall with the crash down or anything. So it's just going to be a quick pick kill here for IG. It sets them up with a little bit of extra vision down towards the bottom side of the map, but really, they've actually got a lot of their vision concentrated up on the top side right now, which is interesting, right? Otacon is going to be spawning down on the bottom side, so you don't really need it for that. And the Drake also spawning in just 50 seconds time.
2 items now for Angel as well. EDG are almost at their strongest point for a majority of these champions here, on just a few hundred gold away, I imagine, for being able to complete that Monomune. Still stacking up the tier, so it won't be a complete Monomana if he were to get the gold right now off of this back. Looks like he's going to cancel it for now. Xiaohao trying to find a reset before the Dragon and the Otacon spawn, and this is the time where IG can move back in, reclaim vision around these choke points, around these entrances.
That's going to be a second item here completed by On. He's going to grab himself a little bit more damage, which is going to be nice. 2 items completed onto quite a lot of the IG carries as well. So these team composition are really coming online. For IG, this is exactly where you want to be scrapping. Your Kai'Sa is now incredibly strong. Herald does go down in the mid lane, although with the pillar, it gets delayed on the charge. Will at least still go through, so that's a decent chunk of damage onto that mid lane tower. And it is going to mean that EDG are walking into this Drake pit late.
Nicely done. No contest on the Dragon. Enough time is bought by the Rift Herald ploy from IG, but they secure themselves their second Dragon of the game. And they still have control of this bottom side of the map, and they're going to force EDG to play into their tempo by leashing up the Otacon. EDG now have to answer. TheShy is teleporting in from the other side of the map. EDG, how do they engage? Watch eyes onto Parukia. He's already chunked nearly to 50% HP. It's 4K on the Otacon. Rookie on the side finds ZDZ on the right flank. Who's going to pay attention to the Otacon? Meiko tries to stall for time. ZDZ is the first one to drop to Gala. Parukia goes in with the Magnustorm, finds 2, gets blown up, but a nice seismic shove, and On follows up with the damage, but can they carry through? EDG, Xiaohao is dropping low on his health bar as Wei is threatening them with this Nefiri. The Pillar is going to call his call to pack. He gets low, but flashes away in time. TheShy and Gala still remain strong, but TheShy is getting dropped dangerously low. Angel looks for another rock. It's flashed by TheShy. Gala goes in.
Gala!
Pillar instinct plops the barrier. The flash. He's going crazy. Looks for one more auto attack to TheShy. Can he pop the pass? If he does, he's kiting. He's firing. It's not enough to stand tall against Angel as he survives, but neither team can secure the Otacon.
Everybody drops so low, so many kills going down as well, and Gala tries to call game right then. Doesn't quite work out for him in the end. Angel is able to keep himself deathless in this game, and I hope you're able to catch your breath, because I think we're going to do it all again in a couple of minutes' times. Key to watch right here is just what Angel is able to do. It's the only reason they're able to really keep this game ongoing. Both supports get themselves a little bit too aggressive on the engages. Oh no, Parukia's dead.
In the picture-in-picture, Parukia was trying to face-check and see what was happening with the Otacon, but he dies. The replay is going to continue, as it looks like LPL observers feel confident that no other play is going to arise, so...
I don't trust it. I'm constantly looking down into that bottom corner. Yeah, I mean, look at Gala right here. He sees 3 pretty low health members, is like, right, now is my time. Just eviscerates his opposing number down in the bottom lane, and he's so close to making this work, right? Like you said, the reset just coming on through, a little bit extra. Now, he gets one more plasma stack off right there onto Angel. He gets himself that kill, and it's just huge for IG. Instead, it's only a bunch of kills going over onto Gala, and the Drake, and the Otacon, and a big chunk onto the mid lane tower. I think as IG, you're okay.
Bloxxer, remember when we looked at the draft at the start of this game and came to the conclusion, this is a hands check composition from IG. This was the big test. I would not be surprised if IG came into this series and said, guys, for game 1, let's just see how good we are mechanically. Let's just see how we can compete with these guys. And the fact that they went even, I think is already putting a pretty good symbol of what we are going to expect from this series. If EDG cannot hands check this team, there really isn't a huge pressure point that EDG can put on this team, especially when it comes to the late game.
Still, keeping yourself even here is just going to be a good look from EDG for a potential lower bracket run if they do fall here today, right? You've still just got to put your best foot forward. You can see Angel so far has been really nice, right? Obviously, Gala has been styling on kids. He's been looking great. But Angel, big part of the gameplay right here. He's got himself that Seraph's Rayleigh, so he's not necessarily doing the most damage, but he is just so annoying to deal with for the IG members. The second you get tagged by a single one of those rocks, or he just puts down the stones on the floor, all of a sudden, what can you do? It's really hard to weave your way through these fights.
Angel remains the strongest point that EDG can try and rally behind. 5, 0, and 4 on the Talia. Like you said, this build is not necessarily optimized for damage. It's optimized for control in this mid game. The Rylai's allows you to at least set the pace of the fight and makes it so that IG cannot just blitz through the front door with essentially 5 major damage dealers on every individual.
Absolutely. This mid lane tower very, very low. Don't know if anybody's quite going to be able to step up to finish it off. 1 or 2 auto attacks right here will be enough to crack it. Still, EDG are going to have this to hide underneath. 30 seconds now until the next Drake is going to spawn. Soul point until if IG can pick it up for themselves. Even Dragons if EDG can grab it. So this is going to be a critical one to go for. And right now, ZDZ just going to be shoving through the top side of the map. He's going to be matched by TheShy. Both of them have teleport. So we could see some pretty crazy flanks coming through here as well.
IG are successful in taking out the tier 1 Parukia. Flashback and Storm. They catch one. It's Wei that goes down, but it's traded immediately by Parukia. But that's a nice one for EDG to go for. ZDZ tries to look for the flank, but he can't connect with the rest of the team. EDG is just saying, good luck, ZDZ. We're going to take the dragon as sacrifice. IG,
don't even get it.
They don't have a jungler. They can't contest. Wait, they didn't even get the dragon
They didn't
yet?
go for it. They didn't go for it.
What?
They completely ignored going towards it right there, and now they've got themselves in a 3v4 situation. You get the jungler, and you don't get the Drake. That is really bad. That's the kind of mistake that you cannot make versus IG.
I'm at a loss for words. Part of me believes that, yes, this was kind of the expected outcome when you think about how good IG are determining the macro and being able to force you to play to their own tempo, but this just... what happened? I have to see...
This TP. This TP kind of ruins everything. Still, ZDZ survives for a while, right? Look at where the remaining members are for EDG on the map. They just never look at it. They don't even think about it. Maybe if they go and start it straight up without a jungler, you're able to pick up the kill. I think they were worried that ZDZ was going to die even faster than he did, and the turnaround would have come through. And yeah, maybe you get the Drake, but you end up losing multiple members and making a bad situation worse. Still, you've now given Mountain Soul Point over to IG. They're a very squishy composition. Giving them an extra shield on top of everything is just going to make killing these squishies that much harder, something I'm not sure EDG are going to be able to do.
If you were to flip the teams in that scenario, you know 100% IG immediately just blitz and take that dragon without any question. Now, as punishment, IG get the third dragon for themselves. They are on Soul Point. They get to force EDG to always check them and contest them when it comes to that fourth dragon of the game for IG to claim. And IG now, even without a massive gold advantage, they are the ones in the driver's seats. They are the ones controlling EDG to play their own game.
And they've got themselves that Sun Disc up in the mid lane right here, making it so tricky for EDG to really be able to step up. Still, EDG, they are going to be trying to force their way on forwards. They've got nobody really that wants to be face-checking too much. Here, gonna head on over the wall. In he goes.
Magnet Storm only hits one. Realistically, he gets blown up. Yeah, they trade out on the Meiko, but look at the positioning for EDG. They cannot walk up. They can't contest. IG have complete control of this top red quadrant. IG, will they pull the trigger on this Baron? Will they try to fish for more ultimate abilities and resources from EDG? It's Angel sending it with the Weaver's Wall, trying to find a seismic shove. Wei does not get caught. And the rest of EDG have to back off for now. The Dark Procession doesn't find anyone to lock down here. You can see it. They are scrambling for an answer Bloxxer, and they just come up with nothing.
Yeah, no way to really be able to get that final kill or two down. The seismic shove just goes a little bit wide right there from Angel, and then the pillar doesn't quite split people off in the way that you would have wanted. And IG, they're going to recognize that. They're going to head on straight towards this Baron. Still low health bars, and Xiaohao is in the area. There is a potential for a turnaround right here. IG, they recognize that. They're going to back off.
Pillar does not put Wei in a compromised position here. EDG storm into the topside river, but there is vision from the Scuttlecrab, and now EDG are feeling the pressure. They're the ones trying to potentially pull the trigger on this Baron, but Xiaohao immediately backs off, and they know better to try and contest IG in a scenario like this one. They're just going to play off of the mid wave. They can't even take out the tier 1 turret Bloxxer. Wow, this just feels impossible.
Still, every time that you see Parukia go on in, he ends up trading 1-for-1, right? This has been kills onto Meiko almost every single time, and that is critical, right? Can you imagine these team fights where Meiko doesn't die at the start and is able to get a pop blossom off into the backline? That completely changes the landscape. We're not looking at an even gold game and an even kill game. We're instead looking at a massive IG advantage. So it may look like it's not working out for EDG, and it's certainly not working out perfectly for them. It's not giving them these advantages that they want, but they are at least managing to hang even with one of the best teams that we had in Group Ascend.
It's definitely very cool. And I know that seems like a very underwhelming choice of words to use, but that's all that I can honestly say about the performance that we're getting from EDG against IG. We know that this was a very slanted, lopsided matchup, and the advantage does not come from gold deficits or gold advantages. It comes from the macro. And EDG, can they find a way to overcome IG in these scenarios? TheShy opens up with Between Worlds, major damage,
but he's
stunned. Xiaohao, he's just dancing around them. He might get burned down here, but his sacrifice is worth it in the end, as Xiaohao looks for the Baron Seal but does not find it. Now Wei away, able to now turn the tides of battle with the Hounds of Pursuit. Tries to look for ZDZ, just forces him back. EDG cannot step up. Flash Magastorm for Parukia, but Rookie answers with the flash of his own. Sidesteps it and repositions, and now IG own this river. They own EDG. The Meiko Pop Blossom forces EDG back into their side of the jungle, and EDG are forced to retreat at this site. IG are gonna push into the mid-tier 2.
EDG, it's so close to working out for them. It looks like TheShy's gone a little bit too far forwards, and he does die, but it buys the space and time to stop the steal from really being able to come on through. Xiaohao does make it into the pick, but a second too late, and this is not just going to be the Baron going over to IG, but they're going to grab themselves this Mountain Soul as well. EDG, they fought valiantly throughout the majority of this game, but it now feels like IG's time to shine.
Mountain Souls finally secured for IG. Even if they don't have a real tank or a frontline Bloxxer, they now have a Mountain Shield that just cuts down any possibility for a full burst wipe from the side of EDG.
How close was this? Xiaohao makes it into the pit.
Oh.
If he was half a second earlier into that pit, he probably can steal that away. It definitely dropped below that 1,200 mark. And then it's this moment that really ruins everything. Parukia gets in and Rookie just flashes away. It's unfortunate, but the second he jumps in, the rest of his team turn to follow. They get drawn a little bit too far forwards, and the turnaround does happen. Meiko doesn't land anything, so at least Angel gets away with his deathless game so far. But it doesn't really turn anything too much. And now, finally, that gold gap has ballooned out. It's now going to be sat at about 3,000. It's a decent advantage, not too much at 30 minutes into this game. But looking at where that gold is, 4 items completed and a BF sword in inventory for Gala. He is so strong.
Like you said, Bloxxer, this is where IG shine. Even when the gold advantage is not that massive, it's enough for them to just put a stranglehold on the map state. EDG scrambling to answer the siege onto this top tier 2, able to delete a majority of the wave here, but with that Baron buff onto the cannon minion, it's enough for them to maintain pressure, and Rookie is pushing into the mid lane, forcing EDG to split up members.
Still, ZDZ is going to be able to pick himself up that tier 2 down in the bottom lane. It's going to be a little bit of gold back over to EDG. It's just about what the remaining members can do to hold, because right now you're beginning to lose quite a lot. Angel, though, he's got a decent opportunity here for an ulti to split the members of IG up if he wants it.
Angel has yet to die this game and is still trying to maximize his impact without giving over a depth to IG. But I feel like at some point, it almost will have to come down to Angel giving his life for a massive sacrifice play if EDG want to get a window back to make the most unlikely scenario happen.
These waves just so tricky to deal with. Yes, the Baron buff has now fallen off, so it's a little bit easier, but still, this mid lane inhibitor is going to fall. Rookie just going to be able to take this one down. And we also saw that bot lane push stopped in its tracks by TheShy. So EDG, they are confined back to their base at this point.
No more Baron buff from the side of IG. EDG now trying to defend the majority of this top side. Decent poke from Wave with the Darkened Daggers here. Wave is just about to be deleted by EDG. They hold off the base siege for now. Health bars are being tested here on the side of EDG. TheShy slowly pushing up on the bot side. Parukia sends it with the Magnastorm. It's Meiko for another pick again, but a one-for-one support trade once again. And IG, the story remains the same. They are still in control of this game. TheShy is now teleported to the top side to reinforce the siege. EDG dropping health bars low. Angel, if he falls, it's the Zonya's Hourglass to keep himself alive for now. The Sarah Shield, it's not enough. And Angel's first and only death will just be enough for IG to close out this game as they ace the remaining members. It's only ZDZ left, but just like that, IG are able to carry through and take out game 1.
It's a massive performance right here from IG. It's close for the first 30 minutes, but Gala gets way too strong. It's just ripping people's heads off. And like you said, Angel, he dies once, and it's enough for the game to be ended out. I'm impressed. I am. I'm impressed with the way that EDG were able to keep close with IG throughout the majority of that game. But IG, they just take a couple moments, a couple mistakes from EDG to blow the game wide open. Specifically, I'm thinking that mid lane play, right? The TP in from ZDZ that goes wrong, where they don't get the Drake on the back end of that fight. And at that point, IG, They smell blood in the water, and they just close it out.
What else can we say, Bloxxer? We were expressing our deepest concerns and our hesitation to get excited about a scenario here for EDG. The most we exclaimed was after the draft. We saw,
yeah,
damn, this is IG trying to say that we can hands check you guys, and we don't need a traditional front line. We don't need any tanks. We don't need any strong form of health bar CC combo. You know, no Poppy, no Scion, no Nautilus, no tank support, anything. Everyone took essentially a carry champion, a champion that does a crap ton of burst damage, and will very likely fall very fast and is susceptible to getting out micro by EDG.
Yeah.
And they couldn't pass it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? This is one of those games where, like, maybe if you get yourself a big advantage, you're able to keep ahead. And as much as we are impressed they were able to keep it even, they never found that big advantage, right? The most gold advantage they had was about 1,500, maybe, at a couple different points throughout that game. Never able to get himself so far ahead. Never able to get them into a position where they could really carry. And one thing I'd like to highlight, and I'll be interested to see if this is reflected in the stats as well that we see once we get to see the overall damage. Angel doesn't die until the last moment in that game, but he goes for one of the least damage-based builds I think I've ever seen, right? He's got himself a Zhonya's, a Seraph's, and a Rylai's. That's not a build that's going to be pumping out that damage, and despite the fact he wasn't dying and he was constantly getting those rocks out, he was annoying, he was slowing down the members of IG, but it never felt like he was really able to deal enough damage to make it so that IG had to fully respect him.
It's a good point to bring up, because that is always a caveat that players find themselves having to toe the line between. When you have the advantage, it's better to build defensively so that you're able to protect that advantage. But Angel never had a shutdown bounty, or at least not for a majority of the game.
No.
And that is very rare when you are deathless and when
Deathless,
you have a large
bunch of
KDA
kills.
like that. Yeah, bunch of kills, deathless.
Yeah.
You should have some type of bounty on your head. But it's just because EDG never really had that strong of it. He got out damaged by Rookie! Rookie had so many deaths that game, but Rookie knows his job. He knows that if he falls, he's only one of 5 damage dealers on the side of IG that can easily clean it up. And you can just see the apprehension and the fear that EDG are playing with, at least through a couple of these members here. Parukia, super volatile, always willing to send it. But when your major carry, the one that is deathless, is doing everything he can to hold on to a deathless record, that's why we said, Bloxxer, at some point, if you want to make a comeback happen, you have to make a big sacrifice play.
Yeah, I mean, he topped out the KDA charts at the end of the regular split for a reason, right? And it wasn't that he was just constantly sitting back doing nothing, but he does play safe, right? He doesn't want to put himself at risk too much in a lot of the games. I'm not calling him a KDA player. What I would like to say is, I feel like I say vegan build quite a lot. It's usually to do with Ahri, right? We saw a lot of whack Ahri builds that were bad, real bad. But this is the most vegan Talia game I think I've ever watched, right? He just wasn't pumping out the damage. The seismic shelves also didn't land in a bunch of situations. Got a bunch of flashes, that's good, but it wasn't like they were then able to regank and make it happen again and make the fact that you are not dealing much damage not matter, because at least you're constantly CCing people, or at least you're constantly pushing people back and making it happen. I mean, you see it in this situation right here where Gala's able to pick himself up 1 extra kill because, again, that seismic shelf just doesn't land. And this is the thing, right, versus IG, who have that late game macro so good, you have to be able to outhands them early on, you have to just damage check them at some point, and EDG, they just never were able to fully step up to the plate.
Bloxxer, I'm not sure what else we can truly say to explain our points further. We kind of hammered it home in the pre-show, and we talked about a lot of the things that IG had in strengths of what makes them such a terrifying team to play against for Group Ascend teams. Teams that are better at willing to throw down the hands checks, especially PLG, probably our best team to do so. And we saw an example of that not only in their series against JDG, but for just a majority of the past 2 years with the majority of their core roster. And it wasn't enough to beat IG. So for EDG, as much as we've been giving up the hope for them. I think the best thing that we can say going forward is EDG, continue to play your best, continue trying to find ways to continue doing the awesome early game plays that you're trying to create a volatile map state for yourself as a test run. If it somehow finds a way to triumph over IG, we will properly celebrate it. But I think this is, for EDG, the best test run you can get against one of the best teams in the LPL, and hope that is a way for you to be ready to play against the other teams that are left in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the way that EDG played the first half, well, not even the first half, the first 30 minutes of this game is probably good enough to at least fully take a JDG from games 3, 4, or 5 today to the ropes, right? And that would be their next round opponent if they end up losing here today. So it doesn't make you just completely disregard EDG entirely, but in terms of beating them out today, yeah, you're going to have to beat this man. Gala was on one. He hands checked, as we had hoped. We said that they needed to for IG. He decided to throw down the gauntlet in the bottom lane. It doesn't fully work out for him. He doesn't get every single kill, but he gets almost all of them. But it was in the later game teamfights, especially once he'd got himself that 4th item completed, he was ripping people's heads off. I mean, there was nothing that they could do either to touch him or to actually be able to get away from this guy.
That one fight around Otacon, as you